Hey, welcome into your week one recap. We're going to talk about the Texas Ohio State game, the Texas A&M UTSA game, and the Texas State Eastern Michigan game today. Um, we're also going to talk about is Arch Manning really the answer in Dallas? How will A&M and UTSA continue to get better underneath Mike Elko and Coach Traylor, respectively? And also, can Texas State capitalize on their dominating victory against Eastern Michigan? We're going to get into that and more today. So we're going to start out with the Texas Ohio State game. Arch Manning did not have a good game. Uh, I've seen some pundits kind of ream on Arch Manning, but I'm going to take a different approach. I think it's more on Steve Sarkisian. He was putting too much on Arch Manning's plate the whole day, considering the defense. Uh, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but there's another quarterback I'm going to talk about that had a really good debut, and he's just as young, if not younger, than Arch Manning. And that's a proper way to introduce a quarterback into your system. It was a defensive battle. Longhorns lost 7-14 against Ohio State. Both offenses had a rough day. It was a defensive battle on both sides of the ball. Arch Manning had uh, completed 17 passes on 30 attempts, had 170 yards, had a touchdown and an interception on the day. The top rusher for UT was Quintravian Wisner. He had 80 yards on 16 carries and 0 touchdowns. And the top receiver is Jack Indries, and he had 50 receiving yards. I do believe that it's a rebuilding time. This really wasn't a good gauge and a good way to start out Arch Manning. It was on the road in front of 110,000 fans. It was a big time environment, and he did not step up. Sarkisian did not adapt to Arch Manning not stepping up and turn him into more of a game manager. I think if Arch Manning would have just managed the game, they would have, at least scored 21 points instead of putting all on Arch Manning like they did in that goal line stand where he just got stuffed. Uh, Julian Sayin, he was basically just a game manager the whole day. He had very serviceable uh, 13 completions on 20 yards, 126 yards of passing, and 1 touchdown. That's enough to win against a very bad offensive showing from Texas. And next week they play San Jose State. Can they bounce back? It's a good bounce back game. It's a good game for Arch Manning to work out all the kinks, all the wrinkles that he needs to work out. And he needs to do that because the SEC will eat him up, eat his lunch if he does not improve by SEC play. Now, moving on to the Texas A&M UTSA game. Uh, UTSA had a good showing. I'm not necessarily a big UTSA fan. I do follow them just because I love college football in general, and I just want to build a college sports community here on YouTube and across social media. I love talking college sports. Owen McCown had he had a relatively good day. Playing in College Station is not easy. That crowd is very ruckus. They will not the noise is unlike any other stadium in the country. And I think he handled it pretty well. And this was a case of him just managing the game. Robert Henry was the feature back. He had 177 yards on 16 carries with 2 touchdowns. And one of those touchdowns came off a 75-yard run. And that's a good sign for UTSA. They have a future running back. They haven't had that the last couple of years, and now I think they have it in Robert Henry. Now, do they have anything past that? We don't know. Uh, the other running backs, they did okay. Owen McCown did not do very good rushing, but he can also run the ball pretty well. In the receiving core, David Amador and AJ Wilson, they stepped up. Amador is going to be the future receiver this year. He was injured for most of the year last year. And then you have Overmeyer, who's going to be a good tight end for them. He's kind of a Cardenas. He has the makeup of a Cardenas to me. So I think he's going to be pretty good. They just didn't get the ball to him in this game. But I think as the year goes on, he's going to get the ball a little bit more. And on the A&M side, they looked pretty good. Marcel Reed's a young sophomore quarterback. He had a very good 22 completions on 34 attempts with 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. That is good enough to win in the SEC. And then the rushing attack does need a little bit of work, though. They were not able to rush the ball very effectively, or at least by the stats. Marcel Reed had 39 yards on 8 carries. Ruben Owens had a very good 37 yards off of 5 carries. I think this was more of them trying to, at the end of the game, they were trying to make the gap a little bit wider, and they wanted to pass the ball, and that's why they kind of went away from the rushing attack. But on the receiving side, they have some good weapons at receiver. They have Craver and Concepcion as their main 2 receivers this year, and Concepcion also had a special teams touchdown off a punt return. Craver had 2 touchdowns off of 122 yards and 8 receptions, and then Concepcion had 3 receptions for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. And Ostrom had 23 yards off of 1 touchdown. That's they have 4 receiving touchdowns on the day. That's perfect. That's good quality reps for those receivers and good quality reps for any receiving core against a team of the caliber of UTSA. UTSA, I believe they have pretty good talent on their squad. They've always been pretty good underneath. Trailer last year was a little bit of a down year for him, especially at the beginning of the year. Kennesaw State and Texas State, those were not very good games. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk about the Texas State game against Eastern Michigan. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this game because this was my game that I watched in all the way through. This was my game of the week. Just because the other 2 games, they weren't. I watched the Ohio State-Texas game. I got bored because neither team had really good offense the entire day, and I like watching offense. And this game had the offense on both sides of the ball. It was nerve-wracking the first half, but the second half, Texas State buckled down. Their defense finally came through and stopped the Eastern Michigan rushing attack. So on the Eastern Michigan Eagles side, Noah Kim had a very serviceable day at 23 completions over 34 attempts and 248 yards and 1 touchdown. That is a very good day for a quarterback who is in his first year with the system. McMillan and McMillan had a really good day on the ground. He had 78 yards off of 9 carries. And the top receiver for Eastern Michigan had 62 yards off of 5 receptions. This team's gonna be really good in the MAC. They just ran up against a good Texas State squad. A buzzsaw, especially in the second half. The second half was just a barn burner. Uh, as far as the Texas State side, Brad Jackson had 18 completions on 26 attempts and 214 yards and 4 touchdowns. The most of the damage came on the ground, however. Lincoln Perry had 12 carries for 167 yards and 1 touchdown. Greg Burrell had 7 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Jenkins wrapped it up with 5 yards on 74. Had, excuse me, 5 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. Brad Jackson had 48 yards on the ground also, and that equaled out to about 262 all-purpose yards on the day, which is pretty good. Texas State had 392 team rushing yards. So they have 4 really good backs. 4 guys who could probably start on any squad. And it's an embarrassment of riches at running back. It was so neat to watch. And then Bo Sparks, he had 82 yards and 4 touchdowns off of 7 receptions. He was the top receiver for Texas State. Yeah, but again, Texas State, they have talent on the outside at the wazoo. Neither team had a turnover. Brad Jackson did put it on the ground, however, but he was able, an offensive lineman was able to get that fumble. The one thing that I kind of want to hit on with this game is Brad Jackson. This was his first start, and he was basically game manager because you didn't have to pass the ball that much. Like, they kept it on the ground. They were able to run the ball. And as soon as the running game started to pick up steam, like, they just only pass it just to keep the defense honest. That's it. They didn't really pass it otherwise. And that's the way you want to debut a new starting quarterback. And this was against a team that was probably pretty much equal to them as far as stature. So this is a good kind of litmus test for how this team's going to stack up against Sunbelt play. Which, if you're in the Sunbelt and you saw this score, I would be very scared right now because the offense has plenty of talent. The defense, however, does need to catch up for Texas State. The defense had so many missed tackles yesterday. And some of that was due to them kind of rotating people in and out, trying to get people reps. And 17 of the 27 points that Texas State has, or that Eastern Michigan has, were due to this rotation that was going in and out all the time. And even 7 of the points that Texas State has was in garbage time. So really, it was like it was a very, very lopsided game, more lopsided than it should have, than the score even makes it out to be. And as far as the outlook after game 1 with some of these teams, the outlook looks kind of good for A&M and UTSA. UTSA is really hard to know what the outlook's going to be like because they played up against an SEC team. Whenever A&M goes in SEC play, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to go 9-3, especially after looking at the way they played against UTSA. UTSA, they're going to probably win the American because it's wide open. I watched USF looks kind of scary, especially after what they did against Boise State. Oh my gosh. And Tulane is always a scary school. And then you have Memphis in there too, but I don't think Memphis is really going to be as good as they've been. Texas, I think they're going to be fine. I think Arch Manning's going to have a bounce back game. He's going to hear all the noise from all the pundits. I don't really want to be hard on the kid because these kids already have enough going on with school and dealing with the noise from their peers at the school. I don't need to be a pun. I don't want to be a pundit that is super hard on him quite yet. I want to see what he does in game two against San Jose State. If he has problems against San Jose State, then we might have issues when it comes to SEC play. But if he plays like he did against Ohio State, there's going to be major issues. Major issues. And I'm going to go into more of that in the preview, but there's going to be major issues if he cannot produce against San Jose State, which I think he should be able to because he did that a couple of times last year, and it's going to be at home. It's not going to be in front of a hostile crowd of 110,000. Texas State, I believe after what I saw yesterday, they can go. This sounds crazy, but I can believe they can go 12-0 and get the Group of 5 college football playoff spot. After what Boise State did on Thursday and how bad they played against USF, I think they pretty much put a nail in that coffin this year as far as being in the playoffs. If Texas State can beat Arizona State at Arizona State in Tempe and rattle off a Sun Belt championship, I think they can get their way into the college football playoff. I saw a team that is deep with talent. They have 4 running backs who could start on any squad. They have a spark plug in Bo Sparks and Chris Don Jr. on the outside, and even Kalen Evans, who saw limited playing time. Like he had there were a few misfires with him and Brad Jackson, but that's gonna be solved with time. And Blake Smith, they're finally using a tight end, so it's gonna be a fun year for Texas State. I think they can go 12-0 if they keep their heads in the game. Don't listen to the noise. That was their problem last year. They listened to too much of the noise, got feeling themselves a little bit too much, and they effed around and found out in a couple of games that they could get humbled real quick. If they can get through the games where they don't play the best and still come out with a victory, that's going to mean everything for this squad, because they're going to come up against in the Sun Belt. There are going to be games where it's just going to be strange. I think the Arkansas State game is going to be a strange game, and I think that Marshall's going to be a strange game. If they can get through those 2 games with a win and barely squeak out a win, I think they can get the college football playoff spot. Right now, they're one of the top offenses in the country. I think Bo Sparks, he has the receiving touchdown, or at least tied for it, the receiving touchdown lead in the country. Lincoln Perry is probably up there in the top running backs in the country right now with his performance. So it's going to be a very fun team to watch. If you're a A&M fan or UT fan or UTSA fan, watch this team as we go on with the season. And also, if you like what you're hearing so far, please like and subscribe, and also comment anything down in the comment section. I'm willing just to talk with you guys. Like if it's like Texas State ain't that good, it was just a bad team, I'll respond to that and give my reasons why again. And if you have any defensive, if you want to hammer me about my defense of the Manning kid, tell me in the comment section. Like I'm gonna try to reply to every single comment. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna try to have as the season goes on, I will do previews every single Thursday or every single Wednesday before the Thursday game happens. Texas State does have a Tuesday game this year, so I'm got to find some way to do that. I'll figure that out down the road. And as far as the weekday games, like there are going to be a few weekday games with Texas State and UTSA, so I'll have to figure that out. And whenever the bracket starts coming out, I'm going to give my bracket predictions during my preview, because I believe that'll be on Thursday nights, if I remember right, or it might be Tuesday. But anyways, I'll do like a bracket special whenever that happens. But as of right now, my predictions for in case you missed my preview, my predictions for Texas State, it was 10-2. Still believe they could go 10-2 and win the Sun Belt. A&M, I believe they could take a step forward. I don't think they're going to be in the SEC championship this year, but I think they're going to go 9-3 and possibly get into New Year's Six Bowl, or a more prestigious bowl than just the Texas Bowl. Texas, I still think they're in the running to win the SEC, especially if Manning shores up his inconsistencies in his game. And UTSA, I believe they're going to win the American Athletic Conference up, either 9-3 or 10-2. I think this team is better than the one they had last year. They just went into a hostile environment. We'll see how they do next week against Texas State. If it's another blowout, then UTSA, you're going to have issues. This is just a little preview of what I think about the UT Texas State game. If they allow Bo Sparks any kind of room to run on a punt return, they will get burned. I'm just going to come out and say that. They will get burned by Bo Sparks at least once or twice on punt returns. And their special teams on kick return wasn't really that good either. They could get burned there too by Kylan Evans or Jalen Jenkins, because Jalen Jenkins is also pretty dang fast too. The skill position players for Texas State, one of the things that stuck out is they're all quick. And if you give them any open space, they're going to burn you in some way or another. And that includes Brad Jackson. If you give him space to run, he will pick up 5 yards. He will pick up the first down if he has to. He'll go to the first down 6 and then step out of bounds. But anyways, that's enough rambling on. Again, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. I know that's kind of cliche to say, but I'm looking to expand this community. There's a lot of communities out there, and if you want to chat with me, I'm on Twitter as well, and I'm on Twitter at a different handle, but I'm gonna switch the handle over to this. But yeah, have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your week, and enjoy the. I'm looking forward to the next week of college football. See you next time.